Money Watch. New data is opening a window into how the pandemic is impacting Americans. The survey by the American Psychological Association found nearly 2 in 3 adults this year said money is now a significant source of stress in their life, and about half have a long list of financial woes forced on them by the pandemic. Rebecca Walser is the president of Walser Wealth Management. Rebecca, how have you seen the fallout from the pandemic impact people's mental health?
Yeah, Vlad, that's a great question. So, we have studies that show that there could be actually as many as 75,000 was reported in May, and that number's only increased exponentially since then, of people that are so stressed that they're turning to substance abuse, domestic violence is increasing, suicide rates are increasing. So they call these deaths of despair. And if we don't help people, or people don't take it upon themselves to reach out to resources to get back on a mental health track, they could really be a different kind of victim of this pandemic and virus.
So how do you advise your clients when they come to you and they talk about being stressed due to finances? Yeah.
I think the first thing in any kind of pandemic or emergency kind of environment financially to really relieve the stress is to create what I call a bridge plan. So it's like an emergency bridge that we're just going to go ahead and and worry about our immediate financial needs. So basic things like food and shelter. That's the thing we need to concentrate on the most, because your brain, once it knows that it is going to be able to be sheltered and have food for your family, then you can turn and you can de-escalate the stress, the cortisol levels, and you can start to worry about longer term implications. Like, okay, now that I know we're going to be able to live here and have enough for food, if you're laid off, for example, your family's not going to school, for example, once you get those basic necessities met, then we can do some longer term strategy planning around, okay, what level of discretionary will we have? But most of the time during this emergency type of situation, Vlad, it's all about where are the financial resources that we can tap into, additional resources that if I'm laid off beyond unemployment, I can look to and see what actually I can do to help the family financially.
We know that low and middle income Americans, as well as people of color, have been disproportionately impacted by this pandemic. Are there any other practical ways people can address financial stressors?
Yeah, I think that, you just need to keep a pulse on your stress level and your family, your children's stress level. There's been obviously children are very impacted as well by the parents' stress level. So if you can just provide for those basic necessities first and really get that worked out to just sort of de-escalate the stress, then there's additional resources. The CDC has a disaster relief helpline, an 800 number on their website that people can reach out to if they're feeling mentally stressed, to figure out what are additional resources, or is there somebody I can speak to, a professional that can help me make a plan and get through this time period of, unexpected financial crisis.
For people that are considering cashing out their 401k, what should they consider before doing so?
Yeah, obviously in a time of emergency, we look for all financial resources. The CARES Act that was passed this year earlier did allow people, if they've been impacted by coronavirus, per individual taxpayer. So you could access up to $100,000 this year and a distribution, even under 59.5, with no penalty, and the tax will not be due until 2021, and you have 3 years to pay it. So it's quite generous, allowing people that have been affected financially or their family's been affected by the coronavirus to basically take a distribution tax-free this year without penalty, and then it gives them 3 years starting next year to actually pay that tax. So before we do that, though, we want to make sure that it's necessary, because once you take that distribution, it's out of your retirement plan and likely will not go to your retirement goal. So certainly if it's an emergency and we need that money, then obviously we're going to have to go ahead and take advantage of that. But before we pull that trigger, just maybe have a conversation with a professional, if you have access to one, to ask, what are the ramifications? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do the full $100,000 per taxpayer if you have that kind of reserves in your 401k or your IRA? So those are the questions to ask, but just think through it. And it's really intended to be, something that is going to help you get through this situation this year, and then, work on a plan for going forward.
Always great advice from you, Rebecca. As always, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.